Hi, Sandy. How are you?
Hi, I'm very well. Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you as well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, pleasure. Aren't you just as gorgeous in the flesh as you are in your photos? Amazing.
Thank you. I feel the same of you. You're beautiful.
What's your secret there? Share a little bit of the Kelly Lang beauty secrets.
Oh my goodness. It's a lot of contour. A lot of contour. I've been doing videos all day today, so I was makeup ready most of the day. There's nothing better than a wonderful spray setting to keep your makeup in place all day. I love that.
Oh, I'll keep that one in mind. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time with us on A Breath of Fresh Air, and congratulations on this latest release of yours. You've got quite a story to tell, lady, haven't you?
I've been busy. I have really had a wonderful life up till now, and God, knock on wood, if He allows me another day, I've lived an incredible life thus far. So I'm very happy.
Well, you're extremely talented, and that talent, I believe, came out first. Was it discovered by your dad, who was actually the road manager of country legend Conway Twitty? What? I'll just do that again. Sorry. Did your dad discover your talent?
Honestly, it was quite the opposite. I was really witnessing Conway when, from a stage perspective, I was able to sit on stage and watch his version of how the audience responded to him. And I loved it. It was just, you could feel the energy. He didn't even have to say a word. He just stood there and they were just like in love with his music, of course, but his energy. And I thought, I like that. I've got to have that in my life. So I honed my skills. I started writing at a very young age, like 6 or 7 years old. And I realized if I was going to do that, I would have to get skills. I'd have to learn to sing or learn to do something. And it just inspired me. My parents did not want me in this business. They tried and begged so hard to keep me from being in the business, but my passion was so big that I just really wanted to feel that what Conway was feeling. And, on a small scale, very small scale, thank goodness I do get that feeling every day from people that write me lovely letters, or being able to speak with people like yourself that have recognized what I have put such hard work into.
Yeah, right. Well, Dad was actually the road manager for Conway Twitty, wasn't he? Did he take you out a lot with him?
Not really. I was able to see Conway perform, obviously, hundreds and probably thousands of times. It wasn't that I necessarily was able to go on the road with him, but I started my musical career very early, and I became an opening act for most every country artist that was ever in Nashville. And I started doing a local TV show here. Ralph Emery was the host of Nashville Network, and he also hosted a local TV show that I was able to hone my skills in on television locally. And it sparked one thing after another. I did Star Search with Ed McMahon after that, and that sparked more opportunities for me. And I don't know, I feel like I was born to do this, and my parents, bless their hearts, they couldn't have stopped me if they tried.
And it sounds like they did their damnedest to try and stop you too. But I mean, you talk about being young. You actually recorded your first single at the age of 15.
I did. I had a song that was written for me by a hit writer in Nashville called Lady Lady, and it entered the charts. And I don't know if you all get CMT over there, but it's a big network here that plays country music television videos. And at the time they were just starting up, and it ended up being a huge thing for them, but they needed content. And so they paid for my video to be done, which again sparked more interest in my career and allowed me to do even more opening acts of shows. And it was just, I signed with a local agent when I was quite young, and they kept me very, very busy at a young age. And it's really a strange success story, because I honestly, Sandy, I don't think that I necessarily was the most talented or the best singer, but I was the most tenacious. And I think that pays off sometimes.
Yeah, and I bet you had a whole lot of confidence about you too, right?
you know, Ignorant confidence. I look back on videos and I'm like, what was I thinking? Oh my God, but there was a lovely innocence about my performances that I think was infectious. And I think that maybe gave me a leg up, because they knew how much I loved my life. I've always been a very positive person, and I think that's something that comes across, I hope.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it does translate well. I think anybody listening, I think to all your music, but in particular from the very beginning, from that first hit, you kind of felt the energy and the enthusiasm for life. So that's kind of contagious, isn't it?
I think so. When I see somebody else that lives like that, I want some of that. I
Yeah.
love to be
Yeah.
around happy people.
Was there much competition around for you as a teenager?
That's an excellent question. Nobody's ever asked that of me. Not really. It was a very strange thing. I had a few girls that were coming up around the same time, not near the competition that is now because of social media, of course. But at the time there was a handful, and if I couldn't make a show, someone else could. I realized the effect of competition when I did Star Search and realized, wow, it can be vicious. And I'm not a vicious person. I'm not a competitor kind of thing. I think there's enough room for everybody.
Yeah.
So that was a real harsh lesson for me to learn. I just think, let's all play fair here. I wasn't into that part of it.
Yeah. Country music seems to welcome female singers a whole lot more than other genres of music. I've been doing this show of mine now for several years, and I have to tell you the percentage of women that I interview that are involved in rock music generally is so small. Is it, I mean, country am I correct that country is more welcoming for women?
I would say so. I would say on an overall scale, yes, they are. It's definitely male heavy. I will say that. But the beautiful women like Shania Twain or Dolly or people like that have come before and knocked down a lot of those barriers. They made it possible to where even it's not even as ageist as it once was at this point. There's people that are now because I think of social media, people can take in what music they want. They're not told you can't listen to them because they're female or they're, a certain age or a certain weight or whatever.
Yeah.
It's taken the stigma off of a lot of things. And I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, yeah. So am I. Glad to hear it. Kelly Lang, you've performed with a whole lot of notable people, many of whom we claim as our own as Australians. So people like Barry Gibb and the late Olivia Newton-John. You've been on stage with Ronnie Milsap, with Mickey Gilley, George Strait, Loretta Lynn. You've had so much experience, and a lot of the music that you've written has been recorded by some incredible people also. Can you tell us a little about that?
Well, when you go back to recording or working with Sir Barry Gibb or Dame Olivia Newton-John, one of my highlights of my life was I sang on the Grand Ole Opry with Barry Gibb. And I don't know if you all are familiar with how big a deal that is, but it's incredible. And to have recorded with Olivia was, it's the pinnacle of anybody's career to be able to even be in the room with her. I was fortunate enough to be able to come to your beautiful country and tour with Barry and Olivia there. They came over to celebrate BG Way there, and when they dedicated the whole, I guess it was like an alleyway park, I guess, for the Bee Gees. And then we went on to Melbourne to celebrate Olivia's hospital there, and Barry and Olivia sang at a gala to raise money for her beautiful hospital. And when you travel with them, it's in your country specifically, it's like traveling with royalty. Well, they are royalty, and what a humbling experience. And I felt like I had to pinch myself the whole time. I remember riding in the car with Olivia, and she was going, "That's where I went to school, and that's where I had lunch with so-and-so." And I'm like, wow, who gets to do that? So I've lived a surreal life.
So you've got quite an affection for Australia and Australians.
I saw a lot of it. I didn't see enough. I want to come back so badly. We saw Brisbane, we saw Melbourne, we saw Sydney, but those are just the little highlight spots. I'd give anything to be able to come back and spend much more time. I just, the warmth of the people there, you're just lovely, and everybody is
very
so
kind
and so down to earth. And that was very infectious to me.
That's good. Can we just step back a second, because you mentioned the Grand Ole Opry, and there probably are many people listening who actually don't know about that. I mean, I've visited Nashville, I've seen the Grand Ole Opry, but I don't think I'm even aware of the extent of the Grand Ole Opry's powers. Can you tell us a little bit about that place?
I think it's refreshing that a lot of people don't know about it. And because when you're in country music, it is the highlight of your career to be able to play that stage. It's the oldest, I should say, and I may be incorrect with the details on this, the oldest running radio program that runs country music. It's gone back almost 100 years now. It's a very deep traditional place to be. It's historic. Anybody that has touched any lives in country music, that's where they go and they feel like they have made it, if they've played that stage. But in the bigger world, in the big scheme of things, it's just a stage. It's just another stage. So it's really funny how much importance we put on that. I've was raised in country music, but the latter years of my career, I've really realized that I'm not necessarily a country singer. I love all kinds of music for one thing, but I really enjoyed singing more pop, more soul kind of music. And I've been recording a lot of that kind of music, which doesn't really lend to the Grand Ole Opry stage. So I'm branching out and doing different kind of stages and realizing that that's more down the road of where my heart is at this point.
Yeah, right. I want to talk to you about the new album because you talk about pop, and that's certainly on the pop side of country, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Yeah. Just before we leave Sir Barry Gibb and Dame Olivia, you were invited by Barry Gibb to perform Islands in the Stream in honour of Kenny Rogers, in honour of his induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame. That must have been an incredible experience.
It was awesome. I'm a big Kenny Rogers fan, and I'm not sure how big his music was over there, but
oh, it's big.
Okay, enormous here, and he's such a nice guy, and he was just so kind and loving, and didn't take himself very seriously at all. And I'm still very good friends with his widow, and we keep in touch quite often. So for me to be asked not only by Barry to sing the song that he wrote for Kenny, nobody knew he was performing that night. So Kenny was just like in total shock when we walked out on stage to see me as his friend singing with Barry Gibb. Nobody knew. Everybody in Nashville is so enamored by Barry Gibb that they are in shock. They can't even speak, And I was fortunate to be able to introduce Garth Brooks to Barry that night. And Garth was losing his mind. He couldn't believe he was in the presence of such an amazing songwriter and artist. It was incredible.
Somebody like Garth Brooks, who's written 100 and more hits himself, is still enamored with Barry Gibb.
One thing I love about this music business or entertainment business in general is that everybody has a hero. Everybody's got somebody they look up to, and Barry just happens to be who Garth thought was just everything. So it was really cool to make that happen.
Who would you say is yours?
Olivia was one, indeed. We were very, very close, very, very close girlfriends. I will never get over losing her. Musically, on another scale, Gladys Knight is a hero of mine. I really love her music. I love her style. And I just recorded Midnight Train to Georgia, which was a big hit of hers, in honor of her, not trying to outdo her in any way, just in honor, hoping that maybe this new generation could go back and enjoy the original.
Your version is incredible. I love it. I just had listened to it a little bit earlier, and you do it so well. You don't do it exactly the same as her. You're not trying to rip her off, but you've infused it with your own emotions and your own passion, and it comes off brilliantly.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because I really try to emulate some of the things that you would wish that were in there, like the pip sound, but it's clearly not going to ever emulate exactly what you would want. But again, it's just in honor of the greats that came before. I just really have a passion for this music and keeping it alive. And I'm doing what I enjoy instead of what I'm being told to do. So it's kind of naughty in a way, but I enjoy it.
Hey, that's the way we should all live, isn't it? Do what we enjoy, not what we're told to do. I like that. Did Gladys know that? Does she know that you've done her song?
I think she probably does. We know a lot of the same people, and I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, I bet she's heard it." I don't know.
You haven't heard back yet.
I have not heard, but that would be really cool if I could find that out.
It sure would. Maybe I'll try and find out for you. So the album that's coming out is called Old Soul 2. It's an
Yes.
interesting title too. Is that a reflection on how you feel about yourself?
Yeah, actually it is. I recorded an album and actually I released it in 2020 called Old Soul. And it was just a collection of songs that I loved. And I was hesitant to put it out because of the era that we were in. I was like, people might resent me having fun music. And then I thought, wow, you know what? We need something to reflect back at a fun, safe time in our music world. If it works, people might enjoy it, and they did. And it was eye-opening to me how much people really wanted to venture back into a time when they maybe had their first love or when they were in school. And so I realized I didn't get to a lot of the songs in that particular album. And so, the volume 2 is just another render of that.
Yeah. And you've written most of these songs yourself, haven't you?
Actually, no, I haven't. I have not written anything on these 2 volumes of Old Soul and Old Soul 1 or Old Soul 2.
These are,
Do have
it's a collection of, they're both a collection of songs that you just like.
Yes, it's stuff like You're So Vain and Midnight Train to Georgia and What's Love Got to Do with It and Take Your Breath Away. It's songs like that it's in the air. But just my versions. But I have several albums in kellylang.net. If somebody wants to check out things that I have written, there's albums that I have written that are just total collection of things that I've written. I've got a new song coming out in October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it's called Life Sentence. And when I was diagnosed with breast cancer 17 years ago, people could have thought of that as a death sentence, actually. And I just decided to switch my thought process around and realize I could really appreciate life more and use the good china today and burn the good candles. And so I wrote a song about it, and it's coming out this October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I'm hoping that will resonate with people.
So what's your message for any women who are suffering breast cancer at the moment?
I wish I had someone like myself to be able to speak with, to go, it's going to be okay. There's so many things out now that maybe they didn't even have when I was going through it. If I can get through it, I'm a lightweight. I mean, I really am. If I can get through this, anybody can. And I know that there is dark days, and I know it's painful, and it's something that's very, very scary. I'm not diminishing it at all, but I just hope to be some inspiration and some light for women. I wrote a book, Sandy, called I'm Not Going Anywhere, based off of a song that I wrote many years ago. And it ended up being in a hospital commercial. And to be honest, in the book, it really goes through the whole adventure with me, ups and downs, and yet ups agains. My life didn't end with breast cancer, praise God. And Olivia actually wrote the foreword to my book, and I'm really grateful to have had her as a person to look up to and to inspire to be like, because she's really touched a lot of people, just being positive and happy. Look for a way to smile, even though.
Yeah. Kelly Lang, a lot of your songs, as I mentioned before, have been recorded by some incredible artists, people like Jerry Lee Lewis, Crystal Gale, a friend of this show, the late BJ Thomas, who was a wonderful man, and the Oak Ridge Boys, who we just spoke to quite recently. How does that feel for you to sit around and write, and then they get recorded by legendary acts like these?
Are you kidding? It's great. I'd be lying if I didn't say, what? Are you kidding? I was even more fortunate to be in the studio when they recorded them. And so I have video proof of this. So it was kind of neat to do that. Crystal Gale, there was a big project that was going on with my husband. His name is T.G. Shepherd. He's a country artist as well. And he was recording some duets. And I had a few songs that I thought might be good for the project, but I wasn't going to pitch my songs. Like, that would be weird, But I did turn them in anonymously to the producer because I didn't want him to know who sent them. He chose 10 of my songs for that project, unknowing me. He had no clue that I was the writer of these. And, those Oak Ridge Boys ended up cutting a song called Down on My Knees with TG. And BJ recorded a song called 100% Chance of Pain. Jerry Lee Lewis, TG and I actually wrote a song called The Killer. And it was based after his life, and his nickname being The Killer. to be in the studio with him was really magic. And
Amazing. And just to talk about being married to TJ, TG, isn't it? Sorry, I got that wrong. It's yes. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. And just to go back to being married to country music legend TG Shepherd, he's again huge in America. What's it like? Are you competitive between the two of you, or do you work together happily? And did you come together over country music?
It's really interesting. I don't remember when we actually met. He's just always been, and I've just had such great respect for him. It's very hard he's had 21 #1 hits. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of dedication to get to that level. So to be in competition with him would be so silly. I admire him. I respect him as a artist, but even more as a man. He's an amazing husband. He's a great friend. He's a lovely partner, and I learn from him. And we have different talents. The things that I feel like I exceed in, he needs my help on, and vice versa. We make a really great non-competitive team.
That's
but
awesome.
It's probably not always that way for two artists in a household. But I'm well aware of his value, but I'm aware of my value.
Yeah.
So we don't butt heads in any way. It's a lovely partnership.
So good to hear. And how do you handle the traveling apart from each other? Or do you accompany him when he's on the road and he comes with you when you're doing same?
I don't like that part about it. And I'm unfortunately and fortunately getting busier the longer it goes on. Like right now, I'm here at home in Nashville. He's on the road and he won't be back for a couple of days. So that makes me very sad. And he's sad when he's on the road. We don't like spending any time apart. You think we'd be happy, to have a moment to ourselves, but it's, we've been together 22 years now, and I miss him, and when we do get a chance to work together, it's just fun and it's exciting, and we just enjoy each other's company. A fun side story, if you don't mind me sharing.
No, please.
When we first started recording and performing together, I have to admit it was weird because we were used to singing solo, and each time we would sing together, we would mess up, or we'd walk over each other or step on the mic. It was weird because, you're not used to having a second person there to deal with. And I was sharing this news with Olivia one day, and we were in Las Vegas with her. She was getting ready to start her residency there in Vegas. And she said, "What do you mean you have trouble? Like, what do you mean you step on her microphone? And what is this about?" And I said, it's just weird. It's really uncomfortable. I don't know what we're going to do. And she goes, "Oh, this is ridiculous." So she stood on the steps of the Flamingo Hotel, and she was directing where we're supposed to stand. Now you count 3 and you walk in front of him, you turn around and you grab the mic, and then you walk 3 steps this. I'm going, that's brilliant. Every time we perform together, I think of this beautiful, lovely Olivia giving us these instructions, and she's in my thoughts 24/7.